In this episode of KIDZ Podcast, I am honored to share wisdom with you about leading kids in your church and in your home. Dealing with kids is hard work, and I'm praying that we add some tools to your tool belt today. So let's dive into today's topic. Leadership conferences. Which one should we go to? What's out there? Where can I go? Big questions on today's episode of KIDZ Podcast. We as kids leaders in the church and in the world, we're looking for a place to grow, to up our game as leaders of kids. And not just leaders of kids, just being a leader in the church. What conferences are out there that are quality and useful and approved and whatnot, right? And for several reasons, you might want to go. Maybe you are ready to up your game. Maybe you want to learn some stuff. Maybe you want to continue your education. Maybe the boss is really encouraging you to use this professional development budget. Maybe the boss is requiring you to go to something somewhere. But where? Where? So let me help you today. I got some wisdom on the matter. I got some recommendations on the matter. And I would love to help you. Let's dig in. I want to approach this from two perspectives. Yes, two. The first is very practical. I want to answer your question. The second is deeper wisdom. Because after doing ministry for over 20 years, there's some things that I've learned about conferences, and I would love to put you in the right boat so that you're catching the right kind of fish. Oh, yeah. All right, number one, let's get practical. What conferences do I recommend? All right, I'm going to put you in two categories. Those of you that are in my denomination and those of you that are not in my denomination. If you are also in my denomination, which is the Assemblies of God, I recommend the Next Gen Conference, which is put on by the Assemblies of God. I recommend it for a lot of reasons. Some of the very, very basic reasons are because it's put on by the Assemblies of God, it is approved by the Assemblies of God. Because it is put on by the Assemblies of God, it will be spirit-filled, just like the Assemblies of God. Now, do I think the Assemblies of God is the end-all, be-all, Mecca? No. I simply just stand with them. I love the umbrella. I love the accountability. I love the denomination. And I love that they are all about the Holy Spirit. Because I believe in the power of the Holy Spirit. Because I have experienced the power of the Holy Spirit. This is not a theology podcast. But for me, when I'm looking at a conference to go to, I want to have leadership principles that give room for the Holy Spirit to do His thing. You know what I'm saying? There are elements of leadership where I need to understand the locus of control, that I am in control of my decisions, and that I have to deal with the pros and cons of my decision. But I am also in full belief that the Holy Spirit is going to do what He does. And I want Him to do what He does through me. I want Him to do what He does in our kids. I want Him to do what He does all the time. So I recommend the Next Gen Conference for those of you that are in the Assemblies of God. And kind of what I've been doing the last couple of years is not do a conference on the off year. Because the Next Gen Conference occurs every 2 years. So we had one this past year. There won't be one this year, but there'll be one the following year. So what I'm going to do is not go this year. I'm going to save that budget or reallocate it to something else that also isn't in alignment with professional development. But let's say you are not with the Assemblies of God. What conferences would I recommend? I recommend the Orange Conference. That's a safe bet. That is a quality option. The Orange Tour, I believe is what they call it. I like it. They know what they're doing. They've got some big hitters up and ready to speak and share and give their wisdom, and they give practical advice. Teachers from all around the country, sometimes overseas, and they're ready to teach you how to lead ministry, how to lead kids, how to lead your family, how to lead. And I highly recommend them. So there's part one of giving you the very practical answer to your question. You want to go to a conference? You have A and B. The Next Gen Conference and the Orange Tour. Now, yes, there are other conferences, but I cannot say that I recommend them more than another. I have been to other conferences. I cannot say that I recommend them more than these. But let's go into part two. After 20 plus years of doing kids ministry, youth ministry, executive ministry, I've been going to conferences practically every year, retreats, summits, you name it. I'm always looking for the opportunity to grow, to learn. Here's the simple truth, is that after a while, this information just becomes redundant. It becomes the same class. Like that first year, like how to start a youth ministry with leaders and how to recruit leaders and how to train up leaders. Well, every year, even after 20 years, they still have that class. Somewhere, someone's teaching new youth pastors how to start a youth ministry, how to start recruiting, and how to the same exact information. And so if you're still going to the same ones, you're not really learning new things. You might get a little nugget, but the same truth is just reminders. Is that bad? Of course not. Yeah, go to those things. Get those reminders. My challenge is to push you a little bit farther. Can you go bigger? What is that bigger? And here's what I recommend. If you don't go to the next Gen Conference or the Orange Tour this year, what are you doing next year? Here's what I recommend, and I highly recommend it. If you have a budget that's just for professional development, instead of putting that budget towards a conference that you're not sure about, that other people recommend, put that budget towards something you do know about, you do love, you do recommend. Here's a really good example. There's a couple authors I absolutely love, a couple podcasters I absolutely love, a couple athletes and professionals and celebrities. Man, if I could sit 5 minutes with them, I would have 10 questions I would love to ask them and not even blink an eye. Those are the kind of people that you need to have on your list. I'm just going to name a few right now. Like if I had the opportunity, for any reason, I already know that I have 3 to 10 questions in my back pocket ready to ask them. Right? I'm going to give you some crazy ones and some real ones. like Leo Messi. That's right, the GOAT in soccer. I doubt I'll ever get to meet the guy, but if I did, I would not take a photo of him. I would ask him a question. I don't want to share a photo of someone that I want to suck his brain dry. Like, bro, what is in your brain right now? That's what I want. Another person I would love to meet is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That guy's a man among men. His story is he became broke poor to become like one of the most sought after pieces of gold in the industry. Like, what is he thinking about that makes him have decisions that are like, yes sir, I'm a man now? Like, I want to understand what these kinds of people are thinking in order to up my game. Okay, but let's get more practical in ministry. Like, who would I want to meet in ministry? Up there in my list is Jeff Deo. I've actually met him a couple of times, and we've had conversations. I do have a photo with him. But he's the kind of gentleman where like, oh, bro, if you get a book, I'm gonna buy that book, which I have. If you've got anything on Spotify, I'm gonna look for it, which he does. If you're gonna be at a conference, I'm gonna look for that conference on that tour, and I'm gonna figure out how to get there, which he has and I have done. That's the kind of thing, because he's got a heart and a mind of leadership that is gold, and I want to learn from that. I'm sure there's other leaders out there that do good that I've never heard of before, and they just need a chance to. Yeah, I want to encourage them. But if you're asking me my recommendations, there are leaders out there that I absolutely love already, and I wish I knew more about their brain so I could not be them, but strive for, strive for excellence just like them. Another one that I would love to sit with is Andy Stanley. He's written several books. I have several of their books. He's got podcasts. I've listened to many of those. Yep. Another one I would love to actually meet is, his name is Dominic I can't say it properly because I'm just whatever. Dominic Swintowski. He is the owner of Troutbitten. He writes articles and he does podcasts, and I read it. I listen to him. I digest what he's talking about. He seems to really, really understand what he's communicating, and his mind is thinking about fishing in a different way than other fishermen. And I want to learn from someone like him who has just this mind of excellence. And if I could ever meet him, which I might actually, do in the next 2 years. There are two ways I could do it. I can think of it right now. And I would love that. Who else would I love? I'm thinking through, like, who else would I love to meet? Yeah. And so I pose that question to you, whether it's in ministry or in the real world, who would you love to meet so that you can suck their brain dry? That's what I would recommend. So instead of thinking about which conference is out there that you should go to and blow $125 on or $250 on, or even like when we go to the Next Gen conference, by the time we get there and back home, it's a good $500-$600 ticket bill. After we drive there, pay for food, get our hotels, and get home, it's a good $500-$600. And truth be told, 75% of what I've learned are just reminders of things I've already learned. Ooh. So what can I do instead with the same budget? And if I knew that Jeff Deo was going to be at some school in some other state for a single day, or if he was coming to Pennsylvania for a hot second, like, could $500 get me to that same location to learn more about the way he thinks, not the information he's teaching? Because I can get that from a book. I can get that from any of his podcasts. But the way he thinks, the way he loves God, the way he worships, like, what is his mind going through in order to pursue this life of excellence? That's what I'm interested in. The Troutbitten guys, Dominic, like, for $500, you know what I'm gonna do? I might call them and be like, bro, I want to go fishing with you. I'll actually pay you to be my guide for the day, and while we're fishing, I want to pick your brain. Oh, I just thought of another one. Sean Donahue. I think he lives out in California. For $500, get on a plane, go meet this guy, and ask him a bunch of questions about parenting. So we each have this budget that we're willing to spend money on to get books, to get to our conference, to get to our retreat. What if we reallocated that to actually focus on what we really want from those experiences? Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I want to highly encourage, get as much information as you want from all these things. That is good information. My challenge is getting myself to stop filling my brain with information and instead fill it with a philosophy of thinking. And what good is information if you're not using it? In Bible college, they teach you Bible stuff, right? But what they don't teach you is things that you actually have to do in actual Bible or an actual church. So when I went through getting my master's program, I learned something called knowledge management. This is the idea that you have information, but knowledge management is the knowledge of how to use that information. And that's what I'm talking about right now. You could have all the information in the world from all these conferences and all these books and all these podcasts and all these retreats, but if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to think about it, if you don't know how to process it, if you don't know how to turn it into excellence and contextualize it, it is just sitting in your brain useless. Oh, man. And so if I'm asking, what conference should I go to because my boss is recommending that I go to one, man, I'm looking up people that I look up to, and if I can suck their brain for a whole day or for an hour, or you pick it, you name it, right? So, cool story. A couple years ago, I was an executive pastor, and my boss had a professional development budget just for me to up my executive ministry game. And I was like, oh, hey, whoa. I could have done anything I wanted, and he was going to let me do whatever I wanted. I could have traveled anywhere I wanted to just go and learn things. But there was one other executive pastor that I really wanted to sit with for the day. And I didn't really even know the guy. So I called him up. I said, hey, I'm Pastor Ron. I'm over here on this side of the state. You're over there on that side of the state. And can I come down for just a day and just buy you lunch and suck your brain dry? And that guy was super cool. He was like, yeah, come on down. So I drove down, and he showed me around at their church. And as he showed me things, I asked questions, and we went to lunch, and he let me just suck his brain dry. And that was a very, very educational experience for me. I learned more from that one day of professional development under someone with specific knowledge about something I cared about than I would have learned if I had gone to just some plain old conference that covered general information. So bottom line, don't try to stuff your brain full of information. Try to turn that information into knowledge. Yes, knowledge management. And that's what I got for you. So if you're going to go to a conference, I recommend A and B. But if you're not sure and you really want to up your game, man, get some knowledge in there. Boom! If you got questions, feel free to hit me up. You know where to find me. Until next time, everybody say, bye, Pastor Juan.
Thank you for letting me speak into your life. At the end of the day, our goal is to raise little people to one day become big people. You can learn more and support what we do at rongaleministries.com. Thank you for listening, and smash that like button, turn the bell blue, or whatever it is that the kids are doing these days.